Welcome to the deep dive. We're going deep today. Love and relationships.
Always a fascinating topic.
It is, right? We're always looking for interesting sources to kind of dig into. And
Aren't all ears?
so this blog post that's been making the rounds, it's by Being Bridget.
Okay.
And the title, well, you got to hear this. The best article on love and relationships that I've ever read and that you need to read too.
Wow. That's quite a title. She's not holding back.
Not at all. But here's the thing. It's not just her opinion. It's actually based on a collection of wisdom from 1,500 people.
Wait, hold on. 1,500 people.
Well, all married for over 10 years.
So they're kind of speaking from experience.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's what I think makes this so fascinating. It's like a global perspective on love.
Right. And, I bet even though those couples are from all over the world, there are some universal truths about what makes a relationship last.
That's what Being Bridget found. She keeps going back to this article, finding new insights each time,
I get that. Some things just hit differently at different stages of life.
Absolutely. And she describes it as the most practical, down-to-earth guide to making relationships actually work.
Practical, huh? So it's not just all fluffy Valentine's Day stuff.
Not at all. This is about the real deal. The nitty-gritty of building a life with someone.
Sign me up. I'm always up for some real-world wisdom.
Me too. Okay, so she highlights this idea that there are common threads that run through all these successful relationships.
Oh, like a universal recipe for lasting love?
Kind of, yeah. And the first ingredient, being together for the right reasons.
Makes sense. But what does that even mean, the right reasons?
Well, the article calls it genuine, deep-level admiration. So it's more than just initial attraction.
I see. It's about really respecting and appreciating your partner for who they are at their core.
Exactly. It reminds me of something the article emphasizes, that love itself is neutral.
Neutral. How so?
Well, it can be healthy or unhealthy, depending on why and how we love someone,
Oh, I see what you mean. So even strong feelings can lead to problems if they're not grounded in something deeper.
Exactly. Without that foundation of admiration, those early butterflies might just turn into moths.
Ooh, that's a good one. Moths instead of butterflies. I like that.
Right. Okay, so next up, realistic expectations.
Okay, now this is important because we're all bombarded with this fairy tale image of love.
Oh, I know. But those butterflies, they don't last forever.
No, they don't. And honestly, that's okay.
Exactly. Because lasting love, it's not always going to be fireworks and grand gestures.
Right. The article actually says those mushy-gushy feelings don't always stick around.
Exactly. And there will be tough times. Moments where you might even be a little annoyed with your partner.
Tell me about it. But isn't that just part of being in any relationship, romantic or not?
It is. And that's what the article says about true love. It's about making that choice.
Choice.
Yeah, to be with someone, even when, they're not always easy to be around.
It's like you're choosing to love them.
Yeah.
Even when they're being, well, themselves. All their quirks and flaws and all that.
Exactly. It's about seeing the bigger picture, all the good stuff, all the history you've built, the support you give each other.
It's like choosing to focus on the good stuff and choosing to be there for each other no matter what.
Okay, ready for a curveball.
Hit me with it.
The article claims the most important factor in a relationship isn't communication, it's respect.
Whoa. Hold on. That's kind of counterintuitive.
I know, right? We're always told communication is key.
Right. But actually, when you think about it, even with the best intentions, communication can, break down sometimes.
It does. We misinterpret things. We get defensive.
Or sometimes we just totally fail to express ourselves clearly.
Exactly. And that's where respect comes in. The article argues that respect is the bedrock.
So it's like a buffer. When things get rough, you've still got that foundation of respect.
Exactly. It prevents things from spiraling out of control,
So when we respect our partner, we can work through those communication breakdowns without, totally damaging the relationship.
Exactly. Now, that doesn't mean sweeping things under the rug, right? Open communication is still crucial.
Totally. In fact, the article really encourages talking about everything, especially the stuff that hurts.
Yeah. It says to talk openly about everything, especially the stuff that hurts.
It's about being vulnerable, even when it's scary. It's how you build trust.
And intimacy.
Exactly. Think about how muscles grow stronger through stress.
Ooh, I like that analogy. So facing those tough conversations, it's like a workout for the relationship.
Exactly. And speaking of trust, the article has this really powerful point about secrets.
Oh, yeah, those can be tricky.
Right. Even those little white lies, they can create distance over time.
And the article uses this amazing metaphor for trust. It's like a china plate. You break it too many times, it can't be fully repaired.
Wow, that's such a vivid image. Really drives the point home, doesn't it?
It does. Okay, so we've got admiration, realistic expectations, respect, open communication. What else?
Oh, this one's a biggie. A healthy relationship means two healthy individuals.
So it's not about sacrificing your whole identity for the sake of the relationship.
No, you're not merging into this one amorphous blob.
Right. You're two individuals who choose to come together to create something bigger than yourselves.
Exactly. And you have to nurture your individual interests and goals too. The article actually says that doing that can strengthen the relationship.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You each bring something unique to the table.
And let's be real, a relationship built solely on sacrifice, that's just not sustainable in the long run.
Totally agree. Okay, so what about giving each other space? How does that fit in?
Oh, the article has this really interesting take on that. It flips the script, basically.
Oh, how so?
Well, it suggests that giving each other space, it can be a sign of respect and trust.
That's interesting. So it's not a sign of disinterest or anything like that.
Nope. It's about acknowledging that your partner needs time for themselves, just like you do.
And trusting that they'll come back to you.
Exactly. And the opposite, trying to control someone's behavior, well, that can backfire big time.
It can create resentment.
Exactly. And it stifles the connection you're trying so hard to protect.
Which all circles back to respect. Right. Trusting your partner to be themselves.
Spot on. Okay, ready for another powerful quote?
Always. Hit me.
One day,
Hmm.
you will wake up and your spouse will be a different person. Make sure you fall in love with that person too.
Whoa. Okay, that's deep.
Right. And it gets at this fundamental truth. That change is inevitable.
People change and evolve over time.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. Over decades, people's values might shift. Their priorities change.
They might change their religion or move countries.
Right. Or go through any number of major life transitions.
And a successful relationship has to be flexible enough to adapt.
Right. You got it. It's about embracing those changes, growing together.
So it's not about clinging to who your partner was 10 or 20 years ago.
Nope. It's about being open to who they're becoming and choosing to love that person too.
Okay, get ready for another one that might surprise you. The article says successful couples get good at fighting.
Wait, what? Hold on. Get good at fighting. Isn't that the opposite of what we want?
I know, right? It sounds counterintuitive, but here's the thing.
Okay, I'm listening.
It's not about the fighting itself. It's about how you handle it.
Ah, okay. So it's not about avoiding conflict altogether.
Right, because trying to avoid disagreements all the time, it just leads to resentment and a bunch of unspoken issues.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how do those successful couples do it? How do they get good at fighting?
The article draws on the work of John Gottman. He's a relationship expert.
Oh, I've heard of him. He's the one who actually makes couples fight in his lab.
Yes, to study how they interact. And he's found that successful couples, they actually view conflict as an opportunity.
An opportunity. To do what?
To understand each other better and strengthen their bond.
Okay, that's interesting. But how do they actually do that? Because fighting doesn't exactly feel like bonding to me.
Well, Gottman identified these 4 communication patterns that are, like, highly predictive of divorce.
Oh, I think I've heard of this. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, right?
Yes. And they're pretty scary. Criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling.
Ooh, yeah, those don't sound good. So is the key to getting good at fighting about learning to avoid those patterns?
Exactly. It's about communicating your needs, but in a way that's respectful.
And assertive, but not aggressive.
Yes. It's about replacing blame with understanding and defensiveness with empathy.
So even when you're disagreeing, you're still showing respect for your partner's feelings.
Exactly. And you know what? Thinking back to that idea of not resolving all your problems, this makes even more sense now.
How so?
If we accept that conflict's inevitable and we get good at navigating it, those unresolved issues become less of a threat.
I see what you mean. It's not about finding a partner who agrees with you on everything.
Right. It's about finding someone whose imperfections you can deal with and who can deal with yours.
And that leads us to another crucial skill.
Yeah.
Forgiveness.
Oh, yes. Gottman found that lasting couples, they often don't actually resolve all their differences.
They don't.
Nope. It's more about accepting that those differences exist and forgiving each other for the hurts that come up.
So a perfect partner isn't someone who creates no problems. It's someone whose problems you're okay with working through.
Exactly. Okay, ready for another quote? This one hit me hard.
Always ready for a good quote.
Okay, here it is. You don't want to wake up 20 years later and be staring at a stranger because life broke the bonds you formed before the shitstorm started.
Oof, that's powerful.
Right. It's a stark reminder that relationships need constant nurturing, even when life gets crazy busy.
Especially when life gets crazy busy.
Exactly. It's about making those small gestures of love and appreciation a priority.
The little things, right?
Yes. And this is super important when kids come into the picture.
Oh, absolutely. It's so easy to get caught up in the demands of parenthood and neglect the relationship that started it all.
The article is very clear about this. Put the marriage first.
Not out of selfishness, of course, but out of recognition that a strong marriage makes for stronger families.
Exactly. Remember that great line, good kids don't make a good marriage. A good marriage makes good kids.
So true. The kids benefit when the parents are happy and connected.
And speaking of connection, the article doesn't shy away from this one bit. Sex matters a lot.
It does, and it makes sense when you think about it. Sex is this powerful form of intimacy.
Right. And when that's thriving, it can be a really good indicator of the overall health of the relationship.
I've heard some couples even schedule sex to make sure they're keeping that spark alive.
I know. I was a little skeptical at first, but then I thought, hey, we schedule all sorts of important things, right?
Right. Doctor's appointments, work meetings.
Yeah.
Why not intimacy with your partner?
Exactly. It's a way of saying, this is important to me, and I'm willing to make it a priority.
And it's not just about the physical act itself. It's about creating that space for connection, for intimacy.
For remembering why you fell in love in the first place.
Exactly. And, it all ties back to those small gestures we were talking about, those everyday acts of love and appreciation.
Holding hands, meaningful conversations, doing something thoughtful for each other.
Just taking the time to really listen to your partner's day. It all adds up.
It does. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of really important stuff here.
We have admiring each other, having realistic expectations, prioritizing respect and communication.
Giving each other space, embracing change, getting good at fighting and forgiving.
Remembering those small gestures, keeping the spark alive. It's a lot.
It is. And, the article also talks about being practical, creating relationship rules.
Ooh, yeah. Setting those clear expectations and boundaries up front.
Right. It might not sound very romantic, but it can save you a lot of heartache down the line.
Absolutely. It's like,
Yeah.
why not prevent those misunderstandings and resentments before they even start?
Exactly. So it's about deciding how you'll handle finances, how you make decisions as a couple, how you'll divide up chores.
And the key is to approach those conversations with a spirit of collaboration, right?
Yes. Recognizing that you're a team, working together to figure out what works best for both of you.
And some couples take it a step further, having like annual relationship reviews.
I know, it sounds kind of formal, but I think it's brilliant.
Me too. It's a dedicated time to just check in with each other,
Yeah.
see how you're both feeling about the relationship.
Make any necessary adjustments. Be proactive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're staying on the same page, moving in the same direction.
Okay, last but not least, the article emphasizes learning to ride the waves.
Oh, because no relationship is smooth sailing all the time, right?
Exactly. There will be ups and downs, challenges and triumphs.
Oh, it's like the ocean. Sometimes it's calm and peaceful. Other times it's stormy and rough.
And you got to learn to navigate both.
The article actually shares this great story about a man named Kevin.
Oh, yeah. Kevin. He went through a really tough time.
He really did. He was feeling resentful towards his wife.
It's a powerful reminder that even the most loving relationships can go through those rough patches.
They can. And instead of giving up, Kevin chose to stick it out. He chose to give his wife the benefit of the doubt.
And remember why he fell in love with her in the first place.
And you know what? It paid off. They came out of that difficult period stronger than ever.
It's a valuable lesson for all of us. Relationships take effort, understanding, and a willingness to weather those storms together.
They do. And sometimes the most challenging times can lead to the greatest growth, both individually and as a couple.
So true. Before we wrap up this part of the deep dive, I wanted to mention Being Bridget's final point.
Oh, yeah.
She ends the blog post with some incredibly wise words from a reader named Margot.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's like she took all the key takeaways from the article and distilled them into this potent elixir for relationship success.
Wow, high praise. So what does Margot have to say?
You know what? I think we should save it for part 2. It deserves its own space to breathe.
You're right, a little cliffhanger to keep everyone on the edge of their seats.
Exactly. We'll unveil Margot's powerful words of wisdom in the next part of the deep dive.
Welcome back. I'm ready for Margot's wisdom. All of the insights we talked about, it's like they're about to be like concentrated into this powerful shot of relationship advice.
I know, right? Being Bridget called it the most perfect email she's ever received.
Well, that sets the bar pretty high. Let's hear it.
Okay, get ready. Margot doesn't hold back.
I'm all ears.
Here it is, word for word.
You can work through anything as long as you're not destroying yourself or each other. That means emotionally, physically, financially, or spiritually. Make nothing off limits to discuss. Never shame or mock each other for the things you do that make you happy. Write down why you fell in love and read it every year on your anniversary, or more often. Write love letters to each other often. Make each other first. When kids arrive, it would be easy to fall into a frenzy of making them the only focus of your life. Do not forget the love that produced them. You must keep that love alive and strong to feed them love. Spouse comes first. Each of you will continue to grow. Bring the other one with you. Be the one that welcomes that growth. Don't think that the other one will hold the relationship together. Both of you should assume it's up to you so that you are both working on it. Be passionate about cleaning house, preparing meals, and taking care of your home. This is required of everyone daily. Make it fun and happy and do it together. Do not complain about your partner to anyone. Love them for who they are. Make love even when you are not in the mood. Trust each other. Give each other the benefit of the doubt always. Be transparent. Have nothing to hide. Be proud of each other. Have a life outside of each other, but share it through conversation. Pamper and adore each other. Go to counseling now before you need it, so that you are both open to working on the relationship together. Disagree with respect to each other's feelings. Be open to change and accepting of differences. Print this and refer to it daily.
Whoa, okay, so much to unpack there.
I know, right? She covered everything. Communication, respect, romance, chores, even counseling.
What really jumped out at you?
That part about making each other first, especially when kids come along, it's like it's so easy to get caught up in all the parenting stuff.
It is. But she's reminding us not to lose sight of the couple at the center of it all. The love that created the family in the first place.
Exactly. It's not about ignoring the kids, but about recognizing that a strong partnership, well, that's the foundation of a happy family. And it makes me think of something else she said about embracing each other's growth.
Oh yeah, each of you will continue to grow. Bring the other one with you. Such a powerful statement.
It is, because like we talked about earlier, people change. It's inevitable.
And if we're not willing to embrace that in our partners, well, we risk growing apart.
Right. It's about being open to falling in love with the new versions of each other as we, go through life together.
I love that. Falling in love all over again, over and over.
Exactly. And you know what else I appreciate? How Margot makes it clear that both partners need to be all in.
Oh yeah, she's definitely not letting anyone off the hook.
Right. She says, don't think that the other one will hold the relationship together. Both partners have to assume it's up to them to make it work.
It's a shared responsibility.
Exactly. And I love her advice about counseling. Go to counseling now before you need it. It's like preventative care for your relationship.
Right. Why wait until things are falling apart to seek help?
Exactly. Counseling can help couples build stronger communication skills, work through challenges, deepen their connection.
Before those resentments and negativity have a chance to build up.
Precisely. And Margot doesn't shy away from passion either, in every aspect of the relationship.
Oh, I remember that line. Make love even when you are not in the mood.
It might seem a little, forceful at first, but I think it's about remembering that intimacy is a choice.
It is. It's a way to actively nurture the connection.
Exactly. And, she also talked about approaching household chores with passion.
Wait, hold on. Passionate about chores?
I know, it sounds kind of crazy, but her point is, if you have to do them anyway, why not make them fun?
Okay, yeah. I guess doing chores together can be a way to connect.
Exactly. It's about turning those mundane tasks into opportunities for bonding.
I like that. So it's not just about grand romantic gestures. It's about finding ways to connect in the everyday moments.
Exactly. And those little things, they really do add up over time.
They create this foundation of love and support that helps couples get through the tough times.
Right. It's like having a reserve of goodwill to draw on when those inevitable storms hit.
Okay, so as we're talking about Margot's advice, I keep thinking about those 4 horsemen of the apocalypse that Gottman identified. Do you see a connection there?
Oh, totally. So many of Margot's points are like direct antidotes to those destructive communication patterns.
Right. Like, she talks about giving each other the benefit of the doubt, assuming good intentions. That goes right against criticism and defensiveness.
Exactly. And her emphasis on open and honest communication, even when it's hard, well, that helps prevent stonewalling.
And her advice to Love them for who they are. That's the opposite of contempt.
Right. Contempt is all about looking down on your partner, seeing them as, like, lesser than.
But Margot's encouraging us to appreciate our partners, to see their strengths and accept their flaws.
Exactly. It's about building each other up instead of tearing each other down.
I love how she ends her advice with, print this and refer to it daily,
It's like she's giving us a roadmap.
and saying, don't just read this and forget about it. Make it a part of your daily life.
Let these words guide you. Shape how you interact with your partner.
Exactly. And it's not just for romantic relationships. So much of what she says applies to any close relationship.
Oh, totally. Family, friends, even colleagues.
Because at the end of the day, strong relationships, they're all built on the same fundamental principles.
Respect, communication, empathy, and a willingness to show up for each other even when it's hard.
Well said. Now, while Margot's advice is amazing, I want to dive back into some of the specifics from Being Bridget's blog post. There's a few things I want to unpack a bit more.
Okay, sounds good. Let's see what other gems we can uncover.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been on quite a journey, huh? Exploring all these different facets of love and relationships.
I know. It's amazing how much wisdom we've uncovered from just one blog post.
Right. And that incredible advice from Margot, it's like she gave us a master class in relationship success.
She did. And, as we were reflecting on all that wisdom, I kept thinking about one point from the original article that really stuck with me.
Oh, which one?
That idea of sex being a barometer for the relationship, the State of the Union address.
I remember that. It's like if the intimacy is off, it might be a sign that something else is going on. Deeper issues.
Exactly. It's not just about the physical act itself. It's about the emotional connection, the vulnerability that sex represents.
Right. So if a couple is feeling disconnected or resentful,
It often shows up in the bedroom.
and on the flip side, when things are good, that passion and intimacy, they just flow more naturally.
Totally. It's
Yeah.
like a positive feedback loop. Healthy sex life, happy relationship, more intimacy.
And around it goes. The article even suggests scheduling sex.
I know. It sounds a little unromantic.
Right, but think about it. We schedule all sorts of things that are important to us.
Doctor's appointments, work meetings.
Why not intimacy with our partner?
It's about making it a priority.
Exactly. It's like saying, hey, this is important to me. I'm willing to make time for it.
And it's not just about the physical aspect either. It's about creating that space for connection.
Reminding yourselves why you fell in love in the first place.
Yes. And choosing to nurture that bond.
It all comes back to those little things, doesn't it? Those everyday gestures of love and
They
appreciation.
really do. Holding hands, having those meaningful conversations.
Yeah.
Just taking the time to really listen to each other.
It might not seem like much on their own, but those little things, they build up over time.
They create this foundation of love and support that helps couples through those inevitable rough patches.
Right? It's like a reserve of goodwill, there for you when you need it most.
And speaking of those rough patches, we can't forget about Margot's advice to put the marriage first, especially when kids come along.
So important. It's easy to get swept up in the chaos of parenting and let the relationship slide.
But like she said, you must keep that love alive and strong to feed them love.
So true. A strong and loving partnership creates a more stable and loving environment for everyone, especially the kids.
Absolutely. And another point from the article that really resonated with me was that idea of being practical, creating those relationship rules.
I was a bit skeptical about that at first, but I think it makes a lot of sense. It's not about being rigid, it's about setting clear expectations.
Right. It's about having those conversations up front, deciding how you're going to handle finances, how you make decisions as a couple, how you'll divide up chores.
It can be as simple as agreeing on a bedtime routine or as complex as navigating a major life decision.
Exactly. The key is to approach those conversations with a spirit of collaboration.
Remember, you're a team.
And you know what I think is brilliant? Those annual relationship reviews some couples do.
Me too. It's like a designated time to just check in with each other, see how you're both feeling about the relationship, and make any necessary adjustments.
Exactly. It's about being proactive instead of waiting for problems to blow up.
It's like a tune-up for your relationship.
You got it. So as we wrap up this deep dive into love and relationships, I'm struck by how all these different pieces of advice seem to point to one central theme.
With that,
Successful relationships take effort, intention, a willingness to grow and evolve together.
it's not about finding that perfect partner or avoiding conflict altogether. It's about making a conscious choice every single day to nurture the connection, to communicate openly, to face those challenges together, as a team.
And to remember that love is a verb. It's an action, a choice we make to show up for each other, even when it's hard.
So well said. Being Bridget summed it up beautifully. Little reminders like this, a simple article on the internet, can be just the ticket to appreciating the relationships you have in your life.
And sometimes those little reminders can spark big changes. I hope this deep dive has given you, dear listener, some food for thought, some new insights, and maybe even a renewed sense of hope and inspiration for your own relationships.
Me too. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. We're all figuring it out as we go. So keep those lines of communication open, keep nurturing those connections, and keep choosing love every single day.
Beautifully said. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.